Good evening, everyone. Good evening, councillors. Welcome to the meeting of the year, the election of the Mayor for 2018-19. For the benefit of those in the gallery, it is unusual to see me in the chair, and that is because on this particular evening, the election of the Mayor, the Chief Executive Officer is the temporary chairperson until there is a Mayor elected. Please join with me and stand for the opening prayer. We give thanks, O God, for the men and women of the past whose generous devotion to the common good has been the making of our city. Grant that our own generation may build worthily on the foundations they have laid. Direct our minds that all we plan and determine is for the well-being of our city. Amen. In the spirit of reconciliation, Whitehorse City Council acknowledges the Wurundjeri people as the traditional custodians of the land we are meeting on. We pay our respects to their elders past and present. Please be seated. Thank you, councillors. I'll open the meeting this evening with welcome and introductions, and I'll start with our councillors on my left. Councillor Raylene Carr.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome.
Councillor Bill Bennett.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome.
Councillor Sharon Ellis.
Good evening. Nice to see you on this very important night, our annual event.
Councillor Andrew Davenport.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome.
Councillor Ben Stennett.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome.
Councillor Prue Cutts.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Welcome.
And on my right, Councillor Tina Liu.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming.
Councillor Blair Barker.
Hi, everyone.
Councillor Andrew Munro.
Good evening and welcome.
And Councillor Denise Massoud.
Good evening and thanks for coming.
Also welcome our officers here present this evening, Ms Terry Wilkinson.
Good evening.
Mr Jeff Green.
Good evening.
Mrs Jenny Russell.
Good evening.
Mr Ralph Anea.
Good evening.
Mr Nigel Brown.
Good evening.
And Mr Peter Smith.
Good evening.
And in the gallery seated Ms Sally Freud. Welcome, everyone. We have no apologies this evening as we have all councillors present. The first item of this evening is an opportunity for our outgoing Mayor, Councillor Andrew Davenport, to say a few words and address the meeting with respect to the year past as in his role as Mayor. I offer you the opportunity to speak, Councillor Davenport.
Thank you, councillors and everyone here today. Just wanted to first of all say thank you to my councillor colleagues, one for electing me as Mayor and then supporting me in the role as Mayor. As you know, it was my first time being Mayor, and I know when I was first elected and Tony DeFazio asked me, was I excited about the role, and I said, well, I'm not sure what the entire role encompasses, so I have to learn quickly. And I suppose over the next few months, I had to learn quite quickly about the role of Mayor and the duties that are required, because what's written on the piece of paper that we're given doesn't give a full understanding of what the mayoral role is. So I'd like to thank Nolene, yourself, and Doreen for the work that you've done in supporting me as Mayor. And Doreen, I was very rarely in the office because I was working full time, but I think we developed a very good system of emails and phone calls to be able to handle all of the correspondence that came in. And so I wanted to publicly thank you for the work that you did to support me as Mayor. For yourself, Nolene, I know that I had spent 5 years on council but prior to becoming Mayor, and after my election, I feel like I've got to know the organisation a lot better in terms of the role that the Mayor has with yourself and with the executive team as well. And I think that my working relationship really improved over the 12 months as being in the role as Mayor, and I got to see a lot more about how the organisation. So to yourself and your team, thank you for supporting me as Mayor. Being Mayor isn't always easy. One of the hardest parts I found as Mayor was to defend the council position where at times you don't personally agree with that yourself. And there were a number of circumstances where I did that, and I hope that I did that held everyone else up in terms of the overall council decision. And there were a few that spring to mind, which I won't repeat tonight, but may do in a future motion that comes to council. But what the mayor's role did teach me was about defending the council position, even though you don't personally agree with the position, and doing that as best as you can. And I did that to the best of my ability. So that's all I wanted to say, because we are here for a really important part of the event, and that's to pick the new mayor. And I wish everyone that is running the best of success, and I'll work with anyone that is elected tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Davenport. I now invite any councillors who would like to extend their congratulations to the outgoing Mayor, Councillor Davenport. Councillor Ellis.
Welcome back to sitting next to your ward colleague. Quite seriously, when you were elected a year ago, I wasn't aware until, short term before then that you were actually running, and I thought this is going to be very interesting, because having done the job myself, I know the challenges that it brings. You are a balancing act between your community, your councillors and the officers. And can I say you've done an extremely good job, in my opinion. You've run very tight meetings, extremely tight meetings. You haven't taken any nonsense from us. You've made some tough decisions, and you did raise the issue of having to stand for the council position, even if it's not what you personally would want. And I have seen you do that this year, and I've been very pleased at what you've done, because that is an important component of being mayor. Regardless of how you feel or how you vote on the night for a decision, it's ours. It's all of ours. We own that decision once it's made. And it is hard for the Mayor of the Day sometimes to go out and spruik that decision when they personally would prefer a different one. And I think you've handled your role as Mayor with great dignity and great common sense, which is a very important thing, and warmth, and you've had a bit of sense of humour along the way, and I actually think it's been a wonderful experience for you, because I personally have watched you develop into that role very comfortably. So I wish you all the best for the future, and I'm hoping the next 12 months we will work well together. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ellis. Councillor Stennett.
So, thank you. I'd also like to offer my congratulations for the past 12 months. Of particular note, I've noticed the way that you have committed yourself to the role. It's, I think the community expectation sees it as a more or less a full-time role, and you've balanced your external commitments, your family and your work quite well to meet the commitments to council, not just chairing meetings but attending a number of different events and representing council and putting face to council and being the spokesperson for council on a number of occasions, particularly to the media. You've been fair, you've been balanced, you've been impartial, you've chaired meetings as well as anyone could expect. You have handled yourself really well across the year. I think particularly given there were a number of tricky situations that needed handling, and as Councillor Ellis said, there were times that your personal view might have been totally in accord with what the council's official resolution might have been, but you have been able to step back out of your individual councillor role and represent and articulate the entire view of council really well. So I congratulate you for that. So I'd just like to congratulate you on your year and thank you, and wish you all the best for your future endeavours on council.
Thank you, Councillor Stennett. Councillor Masood.
Councillor Davenport, I want to thank you for your good service to the community. And you have mentioned it, but I want to repeat it, how you have effectively chaired our meetings for the past 12 months, and you did actively communicate council's position clearly as was required, and you really fulfilled that and committed to that. I also want to thank you for continuing the practice of what we call the councillor only time, whereas councillors, we may have heard different things in the community and we bring it to the group for discussion, not formal decisions or anything, but just highlighting everything to each other. And I think we all represent the whole municipality, we must remember that, and I think the continuation of those discussions is important for us all to be aware of things across the whole of Whitehorse, so I thank you for continuing that practice. I think you applied processes fairly at challenging times during the year to support our working relationships, and you have endeavoured to attend as many community events as possible. I know you've been very busy, and it actually also raises the thing that I would like to acknowledge, that as Mayor, the support of your family, LeMay and your daughters, who all showed understanding of the substantial commitment that you have had as Mayor. So I also, through you, thank them for allowing you to make that commitment to the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Massoud, and thank you, Mrs Davenport. Councillor Liu.
Yes, thank you. I'd also like to offer my congratulations and thanks to Councillor Davenport on a very successful year. You have had a number of challenges and matters to deal with, but I think you've been very level-headed, you've been fair, and you've handled it with grace. And certainly I am, like Councillor Stennett said, your way of managing work-life balance and your commitment to council has been impressive. So well done, and thank you again.
Thank you, Councillor Liu. Councillor Cutts?
Yes, thank you. Yes, Councillor Davenport, you've been an excellent mayor. I've loved working with you. You've been very inclusive. You've listened to all points of view. You've been balanced and very, very fair, and you have represented the councillors with great aplomb. And I'd also like to, say thank you to the family as well, because you've enabled Councillor Davenport to fulfil his role to the best of his ability, and it was an extraordinarily high standard. So well done.
Thank you, Councillor Cutts. Councillor Barker.
Oh, thanks, Chief Executive. Councillor Davenport, you've set an incredibly high standard this year, but I'd like to start by thanking your family. The time involved, I appreciate you're probably out just about every night of the week, and to your little girls and your beautiful wife, they've shared you with the City of Whitehorse, and the City of Whitehorse is better for it. So girls, it wouldn't have been easy necessarily always sharing Dad, and that work-life balance is really important in modern societies, and I know my family enjoyed getting to know your family, and that you were able to involve your family, bring them to events and take them to things. I'm not sure how many times you dropped off at netball and then went off to do something else. So I just wanted to say particularly thank you to your girls and to your lovely wife for sharing, allowing us and our city to have so much of Councillor Davenport's time. You've excelled in terms of providing really good guidance to other councillors. I particularly appreciated that, being a new councillor. You're unfailingly fair, and that makes a huge amount of difference, where you can put aside your own personal views on things and call it as you see it. Had some really difficult moments. I know you and I crossed swords on an occasion, but you were always incredibly fair to me, and you had my back, and you also made sure that processes were followed, and you provided that support not just to me but to also other councillors. And I'd also just recognise your inclusiveness. I know for myself, and I know with other councillors, you made a particular point to invite them along to things that you were invited to that you thought they may be interested in, and I'll always be appreciative of the opportunity to attend the Corporal Baird MGVC portrait unveiling at the RSL that I was invited to, and thank you for being inclusive like that, because I think it is a big job, but if you can share the load with people by taking others along, that's excellent. I think the highlight for my year, though, was listening to you on 3AW with Tom Elliott putting in the short pitch delivery after short pitch delivery about the $200,000 book, and your ability to sort of dead-bat that and to play the defensive shots. You needed to argue the council's position, even though you didn't share it yourself, It was exceptional, and it was a highlight when I was sitting on Springvale Road killing myself laughing, and absolutely impressed with your professionalism, so well done. You really backed the team, and that was your role. Councillor Davenport, you're a clever man, you work hard, and you've got good values. You've been tireless in your work for our community. I'd like to thank you for your service, your leadership, and your friendship.
Thank you, Councillor Barker. Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Madam CEO. I'd like to add my congratulations to Councillor Davenport as well for, I think, a very strong year where I think leadership was demonstrated to its fullest extent. And I think, Councillor Davenport, your commitment to the role of Mayor, I think was just fantastic. And I think we all agree that we were the better for good leadership throughout the year. So thank you for showing that. I think your capacity to grow into the job and to continue a high standard throughout the whole of the year says a lot for your dedication and for your energy levels. To keep that up for the whole year, I think was just a great example for all of us. So sincerely, I'd like to thank you and to your family as well for their involvement and for their support in your mayoral role. So, Councillor Davenport, congratulations once again.
Thank you, Councillor Bennett. Councillor Carr.
Councillor Davenport, I have to say you were a very, very pleasant surprise. You have conducted yourself extremely well as Mayor. I really would like to congratulate you. I'd also like to congratulate your family for their commitment as well, because it is a commitment from both of you, from you and LeMay and your daughters. And you have all done it so well. You have ran the meetings with absolute precision, sometimes to the detriment of some of us who perhaps weren't quite ready for that second, but you have done well and you never wavered from that. I agree with what everyone else has said. You have been fair, you have struck a really, really good balance, and I would find it very hard to criticise you. So, and I'm not looking to do that. So I congratulate you. You have done an excellent job as Mayor. Congratulations to your family, and I very much thank your family for allowing you the time to do this without putting pressure on, oh, you're going out again, because that must have been tough for the girls, and they have done very well. So congratulations, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Councillor Munro.
Councillor Davenport, lots to be proud of over the past year. You've shown leadership and you've grown in the role, no doubt. You've took to the role with gusto, and energy levels were just talked about. You've represented the city well, but also council across the sector, and that certainly is to be acknowledged. Your attention to detail, following on from other councillors' comments, is second to none, I think, on council, and so congratulations on that. Your good humour. It's been you've certainly tackled the role with grace and humour, and at times very stressful. And humour sometimes is a good antidote to some of the ills that and some of the challenges that happen from time to time. So well done. I was very pleased to support your candidacy, and as I said, a lot to be proud of, and congratulations.
Thank you, Councillor Munro. There's one last item in this section of the agenda, and that is to provide on behalf of the city a memory for the year ahead, that being a replica of our city logo. So please, Councillor Davenport, accept this gift on behalf of the City of Whitehorse. The councillors have expressed their sentiments with respect to the leadership role that you've played throughout the year, and I'm sure that this will be a great reminder for you in the years to come as to the contribution you've made to the City of Whitehorse. So I'll pass this on to you now. Thank you. We now move on to item 5, Mayor and Councillor allowances. For the benefit of those in the gallery, I'm just really noting this item, that at the Ordinary Council meeting on the 20th of March 2017, Council, in accordance with the Local Government Act, adopted those allowances. And I'll just outline for the benefit of our listening audience those allowances which the Council adopted in 2017, which are subject to state government department guidelines, and that is $96,534 per annum plus the equivalent of the superannuation guarantee contribution for the mayoral allowance, and $30,223 per annum plus the equivalent of the superannuation guarantee contribution for councillors. The Mayor also receives a fully maintained motor vehicle. So that's item 5, just for note by the Council. We now move on to item 6, that being the term of the Mayor for 2018-19, and the opportunity here is for, in accordance with the Local Government Act, for the Council to set the mayoral term, either being for 1 year or for 2 years, and you'll see there in front of you, councillors, those options of recommendations, and I seek a mover to move one of those recommendations. Councillor Ellis?
I'm happy to move recommendation 1, that the Mayor be elected to hold the position of Mayor for a term of 1 year.
Thank you, Councillor Ellis. Do I have a seconder?
Second.
Councillor Bennett. Councillor Ellis, would you like to speak to the motion?
Very briefly, Madam CEO. Having done the role twice before, and I think Councillor Davenport will agree with me, having just come out of a year as the Mayor, if you do the job well, you are exhausted by the end of the year. You really are tired, and you give it your all. You take the role seriously. That's what you're elected to do, and you do put extra time in, and in some cases young families, employment, and if you do the job well at the end of the year, I feel that you have given all you can. And I actually think there's also opportunities for a new mayor to come on with fresh ideas, experience from hearing the other mayor and what they've done along the year. So I think 1 year term is appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ellis. Councillor Bennett, would you like to speak to the motion?
Nothing further to add.
Thank you. Can I ask for any councillors being opposed to the motion? That being the case, I'll put the motion to the vote. All in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. We now move on to the election of the Mayor. And once again, for the purpose of the gallery and our listeners, I just outline what the role of the Mayor is in the year ahead. And that is, the Mayor is appointed by the Council in accordance with Section 90 of the Local Government Act, and that requires a voting at a meeting that is open to the public to be conducted by a show of hands. With respect to the role of the Mayor, I think many of you this evening have spoken ably as to the leadership role and the duties and responsibilities and community obligations placed on the Mayor. But I think it's worth just reflecting on the precedents and functions of the Mayor as set out in the Local Government Act, and that's under Section 73 of the Local Government Act. And that is that the Mayor takes precedence at all municipal proceedings within the municipal district. So the Mayor is the chair of all meetings at Council where he or she is present. I think we are likely to see some changes in future years with respect to the requirements of the Mayor, but those matters did not pass through the Parliament of Victoria, but that would see the duties and responsibilities of Mayor expanded, and that expansion may occur in the year of this Mayor, so there could in fact be changes forecast as well. I think it's important to note that, as Councillor Davenport ably pointed out earlier when he spoke to the role of the Mayor, that it is a bit of a mystical role when you step into the role for the first time, and it's an ever-changing set of demands as well. The Mayor is most certainly a civic leader. They certainly act as chairperson of all meetings, but they do have a carriage of the if you like, the important role that local government has in our community. They are the symbolic head of that role during the course of their year. And so it does bring with it a sense of importance and a sense of duty to the community and in particular to our city. So, councillors, I know many of you in the room have played the role of mayor, and I ask you just to reflect on the role of mayor in the coming item of voting and election of the mayor for the year ahead. So, councillors, I now invite nominations for the position of mayor. I confirm again for the benefit of the gallery and our listeners that each nominee does require a mover and a seconder. So I'm over to you, councillors. Councillor Bennett.
Yes, Madam CEO, I'd like to nominate myself.
Thank you, Councillor Bennett.
Yes,
And-
happy to second, CEO.
Sorry, Councillor Cutts. I'm not going to confirm that you accept that nomination, Councillor Bennett, but in the event that someone else nominates a councillor, I will do that. Are there any further nominations for the position of mayor?
Happy to nominate myself, Madam CEO.
Thank you, Councillor Liu. Do I have a seconder?
Yes, happy to second,
Thank you, Councillor Cutts. Any further nominations, councillors?
I'd like to self-nominate, Madam CEO.
Councillor Carr, and do I have
Happy
a
to,
seconder?
happy to second, Mayor.
Thank you.
Madam CEO. Jumping the gun.
Elevation. Councillor Stennett seconding. Thank you. Any other nominations, councillors?
I'd like to nominate Councillor Munro.
Councillor Munro. And a seconder?
Happy to second.
Masood. And Councillor Munro, you accept that nomination?
Happy to accept.
Thank you
Madam
for
CEO.
confirming that. Councillors, are there any other nominations for the position of mayor? No further nominations? Thank you, councillors. Now I'll provide the opportunity for each of the candidates for mayor in the order of nomination to speak, and I underline this, for 3 minutes, and I will be very strict. 3 minutes to speak to your nomination, and I'll start with an invitation to Councillor Bennett.
Good. Thank you, Chair. Councillors, thank you for the opportunity to speak about some important issues tonight. If I am successful tonight in having the honour to represent all councillors in the coming term, I intend to focus on 4 key issues. 1, a vision for Box Hill Mac. 2, common sense tree controls. 3, better community consultation. And 4, effective lobbying for federal funding. So, councillors, firstly, it is my view that as a matter of priority, we form a consensus relating to how we want to see the Box Hill Mac in 5, 10, 20 years and beyond. It is our responsibility to take the initiative and agree on a vision to enable the best outcomes for all those who work, play and visit our major activity centre. This vision will obviously be flexible depending on circumstances, but we need to table our vision so that stakeholders will be absolutely clear where we stand. We then need to prosecute our views to the community and invite feedback. In my view, this is our primary duty. Secondly, we need to introduce sensible tree controls. I fully support the intention to discourage moonscaping that has been such a blight on our suburbs. I also support our policy of achieving 30% tree canopy by 2030. What I don't support is a tree control policy that disadvantages those residents trying to do the right thing. I would support a policy that is flexible and proactive in assisting residents who have issues with trees on their property. And thirdly, we need to explore better ways to communicate with our communities. Whitehorse is rated inferior to like councils when it comes to consulting with our community. This is not good enough. I'm not specifying any particular methodology, but I do see a need to address this issue. Fourthly, with a federal election due by May next year, it is incumbent on us to lobby hard for federal funding within our 2 major electorates. I believe we have a great opportunity to obtain some good outcomes given the political climate. So what will I concentrate on in the coming term? 1, a vision for Box Hill Mac. 2, common sense tree controls. 3, better community consultation. and 4, effective lobbying for federal funding. Councillors, this is not an exhaustive list, but gives an indication of my priorities for this next term. The important thing is to be flexible and agile, always concentrating on the outcomes by working together as a team for the benefit of our community. We all have different skill sets, and it's my intention to harness these attributes to maximise end results. Councillors, I look forward to your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bennett, and an exemplary 3 minutes, almost exactly. So thank you for your cooperation and support. Much appreciated. Councillor Liu.
Thank you, Madam CEO. Councillors, tonight I stand before you to seek your support for the mayoralship. When I stood for council 2 years ago, I wanted to make a positive difference, and I've made strides since then. I have developed as a councillor, and it has opened my eyes to the breadth of matters in our municipality. Yes, this is my first term. However, a mayoral appointment should not be based primarily on how long someone's been on council. It should be based on one's merit and what one can bring to the table. The mayoral role is certainly demanding. We are facing some big decisions ahead. I'm not fazed by it, and we'll work together with you on these key issues. From putting my hand up to represent one of the most complex wards in Whitehorse to now the mayoral opportunity, I feel that I'm capable and ready to step up. So what will I bring as mayor? Someone who's successfully worked in corporate managerial roles and also running my own business in Whitehorse. I'm someone who can lead. I'm reasonable, a quick learner, and dedicated. I have a good working relationship with each of you. Although we may have different views and interests, each councillor has their strengths, and that needs to be valued, and I'm certainly interested in tapping into that. I have treated every councillor fairly and respectfully and considered your input, and I will continue to do so, and that goes both ways. I can work effectively with the broader and culturally diverse community, as well as our administration, encouraging ongoing improvement and efficiency as a council. I'm an independent who can work across the political spectrum at all levels of government. I had the relationships and can advocate on behalf of Whitehorse leading up to the elections. I will continue to drive further future aspirations for Whitehorse, seeing the bigger picture, looking at not only where the opportunities lie currently, but also into the future. Let's look at where we want to be as a municipality in 10, 20 years' time and beyond. As part of this is also a work in progress strategic vision of Box Hill, its master plan and transport review, initiatives which I spearheaded, and I thank my fellow councillors for their support. These are large and ambitious pieces, but it is needed and we need to own it. My vision is to foster sustainable and by that multifaceted in terms of community, economic, environmental and planning so that we build a resilient Whitehorse for now and into the future. Councillors, you will make an important decision tonight. A vote for me is not only recognition of my merits and what I could bring, it also represents a more progressive council, saying to our Whitehorse community and beyond, to the younger demographic out there who may have leadership aspirations, that regardless of age, background and gender, that yes, you too can have the opportunity to lead this wonderful city of ours. Councillors, I thank you again for your consideration and I seek your vote for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Liu. Councillor Carr, I invite you to speak to your nomination.
Councillors, I am a councillor with 10 years valuable experience. If I am successful tonight, I give you my commitment that I will support and promote you whenever and wherever I can, which is why I will regularly engage with all councillors, either individually or collectively, to discuss any issues or concerns you may have. You are the elected representatives and you all have a valuable contribution to make to improve the welfare of residents who live in the City of Whitehorse, and this must be acknowledged and respected. Where appropriate, I will forward event invitations to ward councillors and endeavour to have you included. An important responsibility of the Mayor is to keep councillors informed, and so I commit to providing regular written updates on where I have been and a summary of outcomes. The Mayor is Council's spokesperson representing your views. Therefore, I will email the agenda for the Eastern Regional Group Mayors and CEO meetings to all councillors, asking for your input as to what you would like added to the agenda. I will be consistent in chairing meetings with a firm hand, with impartiality and respect, openness and transparency. I will be fair and allow all to have a say. In return, I will expect respect for all and a collaborative approach. As individuals, we need to recognise that differences of opinion and philosophy will influence the debates and the decisions made in this chamber. While we need to respect these differences, we also need to use them wisely. I believe it is important that the Mayor remembers that he or she is a member of a team, and if it wasn't for this team, he or she would not be where they are. I believe the Mayor of Whitehorse needs to continue to support Council strategies and plans already in place and continue to advocate for the Box Hill Transport interchange. He or she should embrace any increase in public open space and lobby VCAT to ensure they respect our planning scheme and subsequent council decisions, and advocates for the best possible outcomes for Whitehorse residents on the North East Link and Yarra Valley Water Sewerage Plant. Councillors, we currently are a very good and responsible team. We respect each other's right to differ in our opinion, and I will do whatever it takes to continue working together as a team player to ensure this continues. You know my strengths. You know I am a good communicator at all levels, and I have a proven track record of being an honest and responsive councillor. I feel it is important for a mayor to have this solid background, just as I feel it is imperative to utilise the extensive, valuable experience of previous mayors. We have 5 previous mayors in this room who have provided the stability that has been the hallmark of this council. I have the time and the commitment to ensure this stability continues, and I ask for your support in electing me Mayor of the City of Whitehorse. Thank you, Madam
Thank you,
Chair.
Councillor Carr. Councillor Munro.
Thank you, Madam CEO. Councillors, I don't bring a policy manifesto tonight. What I'm doing is to seek to be a first amongst equals. I bring experience to the role in what is a challenging year ahead of us. We have a state election, a federal election, and we have structural challenges within the organisation. I've demonstrated a strong connection with all major parties at both state and federal level over the years. I commit to an open door to my council colleagues, and I certainly seek to promote your goals and aspirations in the position of Mayor. I commit to being a bridge to the organisation between the councillor cohort. I certainly commit to active, ongoing councillor-only time so we can have a strong discussion amongst ourselves as to our wants and aspirations, and make sure they're communicated to the organisation effectively so they're in a position to assist council in achieving those goals. Councillors, I seek your support.
Thank you, Councillor Munro. We now move to the voting process, and I just remind councillors of the voting procedure, as I know you're all aware. So I now call for those councillors seeking to support Councillor Bennett. Councillor Bennett, Councillor Cutts and Councillor Barker. Thank you. Those councillors seeking to support Councillor Liu. Councillor Liu. Those councillors seeking to support Councillor Carr. Councillor Carr and Councillor Stennett. And those councillors seeking to support Councillor Munro. Councillor Massoud, Councillor Munro, Councillor Davenport and Councillor Ellis. Thank you, councillors. So that being the case, Councillor Liu with 1 vote is eliminated for the first round. So we now go to the remaining 3 candidates, those being Councillor Bennett, Councillor Carr and Councillor Munro. And I invite those councillors seeking to support Councillor Bennett. Councillor Barker, Councillor Liu, Councillor Cutts and Councillor Bennett. Those councillors wishing to support Councillor Carr. Councillor Carr, Councillor Stennett. And those councillors supporting Councillor Munro. Councillor Masood, Councillor Munro, Councillor Davenport and Councillor Ellis. Thank you, councillors. That being the case, Councillor Carr with 2 votes is eliminated, and we move to the remaining 2 candidates, that being Councillor Bennett and Councillor Munro. So I seek those councillors wishing to support Councillor Bennett, Councillor Cutts, Councillor Bennett, Councillor Carr, Councillor Barker, Councillor Liu, and those councillors supporting Councillor Munro. Councillor Masood, Councillor Munro, Councillor Ellis, Councillor Davenport, and Councillor Stennett. So if I'm correct, councillors, we have 5 votes for Councillor Bennett and 5 votes for Councillor Munro. And therefore we move to the councillors. Can I just have your attention, please? We move to an election of the mayor by lot. I'll ask Mrs. Russell to place 2 cards in our box, and I'll ask her to display that box to all councillors present, and the 2 cards. One of the cards will read defeated and the other card will read blank. And Mrs. Russell will place those cards. Councillors, thank you, councillors. I'll now ask Mrs. Russell to move to the front of the room. And in alphabetical order, albeit nomination order, being the same order, I'll ask Councillor Bennett to come forward and choose a card. Councillor Bennett remains, and therefore, thank you, councillors. Councillor Bennett is the new mayor for the 2018-19 year. Congratulations, Councillor Bennett. Now, prior to our new mayor, this is very important for you to listen to, Councillor Bennett, because you have to do something now. Before the new mayor takes the chair, I'll invite our new mayor to take the robes, if he chooses to. So if you would be accompanied by Ralph, and we'll get you to do that in the councillors' lounge and return to the room. Thank you. We won't be a moment, everyone. Please join with me, everyone, in congratulating our new mayor for 2018, Councillor Bill Bennett. Over to you.
Thank you, Madam CEO. Well, thank you, fellow councillors, for your support for me. I'm quite overwhelmed, really, and I'd have to say I hate the process of actually picking a card out of a hat. but that's the process. I dedicate myself to this position. You've heard what I said in my speech. I intend to carry out those priorities. But I think I need to make the point that it is a team effort, and I'll be looking towards all councillors to make a positive contribution this year. And I'll certainly be seeking the team approach and the consensus approach to be able to achieve great things for this city. To say that at this moment I feel a mixture of emotions would be only too true. But on reflection, I'm sure that I'll give it a red hot go. So that's the best I can offer you. I will do my best on behalf of you all, but more importantly on behalf of the Whitehorse community. So thank you again for your support. Thank you.